So today we look at multi-maps, so key value stores with many values per key. I use this container decision tree quite often, where I also linked the playlist that you have here and the presentation that I use quite often. That should be more videos from time to time. And that is the presentation with all the overviews and links and so that I use in the videos. But now let's go back. In theory, you need a container structure. You don't know what exactly to choose. So let's start at the beginning. Handling game data normally means a struct. That's the best thing. I have an overview here. Use it also for parameters and everything because it's much easier to change signatures. First thing is asking, is it transactional or master data? So stable data. Stable data would be data table. Transactional, so meaning changing into the game. That is everything else. The first thing is, do I need access to the objects in between, or is it a kind of first in, first out thing like a queue? No, a map, we can use what we want. Is it unique or not as a set? No, in a map we can have duplicates, we should not have in a set. Again, asking, do we want to access just as a single strict row, like a ranking, or do we want to access whatever we want via a key? We want to use a key. And then multi-map last stage is really just asking, yeah, is it one value, one key, or one value, many keys? The other way around, sorry. One key, many values, or one. Yeah, to be not confused here again, a kind of better representation. You look at the key A, it has the values 2, 6, and 4. So multi-map, whereas the key B would be just the 4. So that's more the classical map, one key, one value. Multi-map, one key, many values. What kind of functions do we have? We have two delegates as usual. So one delegate that is fired the moment you add something to a key, a new value to a key. And same thing, you fire removing one. Then you have the add key value pair, getting a reference of a key, normally a GeoID, and the value, a struct. You can empty the multi-map, but you can already reserve space for the next version as soon as you fill it again to not do double work, throwing the space away and then reclaiming it. So you can reserve it here. You can get all the values as an array of structs. You can get the keys, in my case here, a GeoID, again as an array. You can look if a key value pair exists, getting back a bool for two references, the key and value reference. You can find how many values are for a key. So you get back an array between 1 or 0 and many for all the values that has been found for a key. You can remove the first occurrence for a defined key and value structure. So it will remove the first value found, that's the same. You can get the values, the number of values from values for a key, and you can just clean up a key, meaning removing all the values, giving back the number that has been removed. So these are the functions that we have here available, exposing it to Blueprint. We have here a past bin, that is the template that I used, this expose TMultiMap to Blueprint. That is what you would have to do. It's also in the descriptions, and we would have to pass it into a .h file, meaning a header file in C++. First thing, make sure that the file name is exactly the one like the generated here. Otherwise, the whole thing will not work with very strange error messages. So meaning that is one of the things being important. Then we have here what I use. The whole thing is tailored to only exactly one struct. If you want to use another struct, you have to exchange the name in the whole file. Here it's the multi-map test struct. It has a GeoID, it has a name and a number. You would either extend it or use whatever struct that you like. Then you have to include that struct in the header files, don't forget that. Here's the constructor. This is just reserving space for the kind of empty GeoID name and number. It needs to be in the same order like you defined it. And this is an important one because depending what you want to do with the structure, you need certain operators, like here, this double equals operator. Otherwise, for example, the remove single function will not work. So your struct needs to provide a thing to compare it, to sort it, and so on, or to hash it, depending what you want to do with the struct. This here is the bare minimum to get it running here, but in a normal struct, you should actually include more. I have a kind of struct template here, and there's in the video, the first one in Unreal Basics, and that is where I showcase a couple of more, like, for example, get hash type, hashing the struct, or this double equal operator, the equals operator, but it could be bigger or smaller operator. So depending what you want to do with the struct, you will need to think about what kind of operators you build in to make it effective. So let's close that and have a look here at the delegate. That's just really a delegate declaration. We have one parameter. We have the GeoID that we will get back. That is always if something's changing. And here is the class. It's a child of uObject, so it's an object in our place that we have to initialize. Constructor is not doing much. The delegates, we have two of them. One is for adding keys, or adding something to a key or removing something from a key. We will fire these delegates so that we can react on it, on changes on the map. And then we have, of course, the MultiMap itself, like it comes from the Unreal Engine. Again, it's initialized with this MultiMap test struct. If you want to do anything else, you have to replace it. Otherwise, it will not work. It's always only for one. Here are the couple of functions. I always start with MM for MultiMap, so you can easily find them in Blueprint. We have add, we have number of values for a specific key. We have find all values associated with a specific key. That would give us back an array, because it can be more than one, as we are a multi-map, not a normal map, where it would be only a 1 or 0. We can remove all values for a defined key. So we have to provide the key, and key and values are always provided per reference, so we avoid copies. And we can remove the first occurrence of a specific combination of a key and a value. So these are kind of the basic functions that I started with. Then I saw, okay, a couple of them missing. That is what you see here, so I added them. Very important, getting all the keys, of course. So get all the keys from a map so that I'm able to iterate over them. Then empty the map, to not leave it forever. You can already provide here, if you know, an int saying what should be the new capacity of the map, but you can increase later. Key value exists, or then, very important, get all the values. Again, iterating over them, give you back an array of the struct. How would I use it then? First thing, I start an empty project here to showcase it, and we want to use that empty project and create that header file and show that we can actually use this multi-map within Unreal Engine in Blueprint. So we take third person. I say C++ should be included, but you can also do that later if you don't have it yet. I give it a name, I create it, and then I'm ending up with an empty project. And of course my past bin, because that is the content that I want to pass here. This is my project structure. First thing, I have to clean it up a bit before I use this past bin and create the file, simply because there's a lot of pre-compiled code that will not work if you just add a file to it. So meaning I normally have in each project such a small file that I just batch file that just makes sure that a couple of directories are removed that I don't need, like binaries, derived data cache, intermediate, save, and this Visual Studio things. And if you have plugins, also go into that to remove their intermediate and the binaries. And then you just have to really double click and it will always clean your directory. So like here. So last thing we will then do later, as soon as we have our file, is regenerating the Visual Studio project file, but first the file. Let's go to source, to my project source folder, and create a new folder, for example, container, where all my containers in. And you might end up with a lot of these queues or multi-maps simply because you have to do it per struct. Then I copy the content from the past bin, passed it in a new file, and that new file then should be wrong directory, going to source, going to my project, going to container. Now I could name it multimap.h, for example. Important thing, you can of course create also all kind of C++ files from Unreal Engine via tools and so on. Problem that I saw quite often is that then the Unreal Engine or Visual Studio is not recognizing and not seeing them, giving you extreme weird errors. For me, that one here from the outside world, kind of enforcing, recompiling everything, that works kind of every time. So I really prefer that way, but both are possible. So okay, now I created this .h file, and now I can recreate my Visual Studio file. It's kind of a magic bullet, really, because from time to time you just have to recreate it, otherwise it will not work anymore. And now let's open that and actually see if our Unreal Engine responds to it and sees the multimap. Yeah, in this case I just can reload here, reloading it, closing Unreal Engine, making sure that the file is actually there and recognized. Looks good. Yeah, multimap is here. As I said, very important, needs to be the same name with the generated one, but we did not change anything, so I leave it like it is, and I also use the struct. And let's have a look. I open my blueprint. Let's just use the third person blueprint and we do something on begin play. Push it in here. And yeah, first thing first, we have a U object here that we want to construct. So construct object from class. And the object would be, of course, from the class MultiMap that we created. TMultiMap is the name. So that would be here. And yeah, I think as soon as we have that object, we should make it a variable because we will reuse it later. So let's call it test multimap. So that is stored now, and now we can do things with it. Let's have a look. First thing, I need another key because I want to have a couple of values per key, and this key should be fixed, should be always the same key. So I have a GUID here that I call main key. First thing, let's create actually that GUID. At the moment is 000. So just here, new key. That makes sure that I have a valid GUID. That is set now, and that is my main key where I store a couple of values in. Then let's take the multimap and look for MM. There you see all the functions, and for example, add key value pair. The key, of course, is here. The value is a new multimap test struct that I just create here. So the number would be 1 and the name would be test1, let's say. And the GUID again is a new GUID. I kind of GUID more or less every object that I have, simply to keep track of all of them and to make sure that I always have one parameter that I absolutely know that I can use them for differentiating, from comparing, or for example. Okay, that is my adding part. And now let's get it out again. So next thing, we want to find actually all the values that are associated with our main key. That should be 2, obviously. And we want to iterate over them and see if there are actually values in it and if I can print something out, for example. So main key is, of course, here. And that is my multimap. Okay, looks good. And here on the array, I would say we for each it. And yeah, the element is my struct that I can break. And breaking it, I would see my name again. And that is log string. I want print string. Here we go. And could print out the name. Yeah, not super meaningful, but yeah, let's see. Okay, looks good, I would say. Looks not so good because I forgot to add our main key. That should be here. Yeah, as it's per reference, you have to provide a value, and that is what we want actually. So let's run it. Stopping here with debugging. Okay, multifind actually found 2 values. That looks good. Yeah, if you break the value, we have a GUID, a name, and the number. Also looks very good. So meaning that is our multimap. The moment I will run it, it should say test1, test2. That is what we have. Looking good. So for me, multimap or map per se is one of the most powerful containers. Makes it very easy to store and find things again. Definitely think again, just using an array because it's kind of the standard. It's great for iterating things, an array. That's it more or less. If you only iterate or have a very fixed order, then use it. Otherwise, they are much, much more powerful, faster, and less memory intensive containers. Thank you very much. I hope it helps. I will continue this series. See you soon. Bye.